Okay, in all type of mathematics, guys, we must be able to have a problem-solving investigation. But here, as we maneuver our way through percent and proportions, we want to look at a reasonable answer. Let me tell you what that means when we say reasonable. We're not looking at a concrete answer. We want to look at an answer that's pretty much an estimate, a pretty decent guess or conjecture is what we're looking at. So we're still working through 8.2b, but we just want to take a look at at a particular situation and see, is this reasonable? Do this answer make sense? And if so, how can we find it, or how can we use the actual approach? So we want to explore, which means look at what's happening within the problem. We want to make a pretty decent plan, and we want to think about how we can go about solving the problem. Well, James sees an advertisement for a pair of shoes, and one pair costs $34.99 plus 5% tax. So he wants to buy a black pair and a brown pair. Well, James has $75 in his clothing budget that he can spend on the shoes. So the question is, can he afford to buy both pairs? Okay, so let's take a look at the explore. What do we know? What is the problem telling us? So the problem is telling us the cost of the shoes, pretty much, and the sale tax rate. So the problem is literally telling us that one pair of shoes is $34.99, and so we'll pretty much have to deal with that, because we want to say times 2, because he wants 2 pair of shoes, and we have a 5% tax rate. So 5% tax rate. Now you have to understand that you're going to have to make this 5 over 100, or understand that 5% is 0.05. But you should be able to make those analogies here. We also know that he cannot spend more than $75. So he must spend no more. So we'll say he has $75 to spend. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do is make some kind of mental math plan. So we want to make a mental math plan to determine a pretty reasonable answer. Okay, so if that's the case, again, a mental math plan. Now, as we begin to make this plan, you want to think about what we see here. $34.99 times 2, let's just round that up to $35. So you think here you'll have $35 times 2, which is a pretty estimate, a decent estimate of $70. Okay, so now we have to look at the tax. So if we really look at the tax, we know that if we got $70 and the tax is going to be a percentage of 70, and we know that 10% of 70 is $70, $7. So let's just say 10% of 70 is $7. Okay, so if that's the case, we can pretty much say 5% have to be 5 times 7 is 35. So let's call it plus the 2 decimals. Let's say 5% of 70. Let's say it's $3.50, and of course we'll be right there. But But anyway, we're making a pretty decent conjecture here. So now, the only thing we have to do is pretty much think about what we have. So we have, if we're looking for the total cost, we see that the shoes themselves is $70, plus we must add the $3.50 on there for tax, and we can see that this is probably around $73.50. Okay, well, since he has $75, we could pretty much say he has enough money to buy the shoes without feeling nervous when he gets to the cash register. So we could just make a conjecture just simply on our mental math that we do, and this is a very good approach. I do this all the time. If I'm shopping, especially if I'm going into Walmart, I want to make sure that I have enough money. Don't want to pull out the old debit card, and I look at what the price is calls. If it's $15.99, I'm gonna say that's $16, and then I know that the tax rate in Dallas County is 8.25%. So I'm gonna always look at that as pretty much 9% or something, because I always go up, so I make sure that I have money. So anyway, looking at our answer here, we could easily say that yes, James can afford both pair. Now again, we did not go in and get the exact, we just took a reasonable guess or conjecture or reasonable answer, and we say yes by looking at our rationale that he can buy both pair of shoes. Okay, now what we can do, if you want to check to make sure, then you just go in and $34.99 times 2 and look at your sales price, the 5% of that total, and you'll see that he can indeed do that. All right, so much for problem solving investigation with a reasonable answer. Let me go ahead and end this one and put one up for you to look at.